Okay, hi all, Promethean Bryce here. This is just going to be another tutorial like the first one I've done, except this time we're going to be doing a video where we're not actually going to use the reference in the background. I just want to sort of give um, bit of advice on how to do that. We're going to do a shark, which I've actually previously modeled in clay, which you can actually have a look at on my website, which I'll link to. But we're going to say put it in front of me and I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna show you how to do it. So if you just follow along what I'm doing to the best you can. Um, Again, don't worry about specifics because if you're watching this tutorial, you're probably just starting out anyway or wanting a little bit of advice on something. So just just have some patience. So the first thing we're gonna do is just gonna clear all of these because they're just in the way and we don't need it. And just make sure when we're doing it again, what we want to make sure is these values are in these positions again. So you want your X across this way, your Y across the forward towards you that way, and then obviously Z up here. And that's what you want to be working in, just to make things a lot easier. So the first thing we're going to do, you'll see them anyway, because you'll see this green is green, this red is red, and if you go back to the other view, you'll see the blue. So you know which values you're working at anyway. So like I said, I've got the actual item in front of me, so there's a little bit of a bonus for me, and unfortunately not for sort of you guys. But like I said, this the whole point of this is to sort. So let's say you've got an idea in your head, or you do have something, an object around you, and you don't have the ability to take a photo, or you don't particularly know how, or you don't trust yourself with getting the sort of look correct. Obviously, I still would say if it's a highly detailed character or model, anything in general, try and have the reference there. If not, if it's something small, something cartoony, something sort of cutesy, or just something basic, like I don't know, let's say you was doing a radiator, and you don't really want to put the radiator picture in when you can do it in like a 5 minute sculpt. Right, so what we're going to do is do the same as what we did before. So we're going to add mesh UV sphere, grab that sphere, and I always use the transform tool rather than the move, and that's just because it has the rotate, the movement, and everything else with it. So just move that across to the side, go to sculpt mode, go down, go to tools, sorry, then go down, remesh, and then we'll put that again at the same value of an 8. Keeps it simple enough to keep it clean and not too advanced to have too much detail. So then what we're going to do is going to do Control C, Control V. And then we're just going to look at our sort of shark in front of me, and I'm going to have a look, and I'm having a look, and I'm thinking, or I say I was thinking it off the top of my head. Like I said, we want the Y value to be our front. So while we're working on this, we'll do it that way. So grab it, and let's say we go to sculpt mode, just like always, we go down to elastic, deform, bring it up big, and we're going to press Y and Z at the same time. So we're going to just do these. Oops, sorry, not yet. We're not going to do that yet. We want to just bring these back and forth. And we're going to do this in parts again because we're going to pose it afterwards. Remember to keep remeshing and then smooth it if you want by holding the Alt Shift. Sorry, just the Shift, not the Alt Shift. Sorry. And just in case this is the first video you're watching, to get to that, you need to actually press the middle mouse button with the Alt button to get to these. and just slide the mouse to the left, right, up or down to where you need it to be. And that's how you do that. See what we do. We'll go back on that one. We'll go Y as well. If you just add those values, it's going to make it the same shape all the way around. I'm just going to make that nice and big that. So let's have a look. We're looking at this now, and I'm going to break it into, say, 3 parts. Again, you've got to use your initiative on this one and decide for yourself really what, say, you want doing. And this time, we're going to just do that one in like this. And then we're going to start doing a little bit more extra bits. We're going to go in like that. And this is going to be sort of the top end of the tail. And just remember to keep remeshing. Most of the time, like I said, it's going to be a case of just using this elastic deform tool to get that shape. And with, like I said, with base characters, you're not really looking to do that too much. So you're going to go around like that. I'm just going to try and get this sort of head shape the way it is on this. It's very sort of particular, the one I'm using. So, like I said, if you're doing, you can do your own character based on this. Just follow along the steps while not, say, using the app itself. Just take some notes, and that way you'll get a general idea of how to use it. So I'm going to do that like that for now, and then we're going to get to work on the second bit. So as usual, you're going to come off that one, select that one, Control C, Control V, place it where you want to. Just remember this red here, that's going to, I'll quickly show actually what I was talking about last time. If I move this value up, say, let's not say that, say sculpt, it will actually affect the other one. Let's see, edit mode. It's going to grab them. Let's say I wanted to pull them out. It's just going to affect the other one. I mean, it's not really showing very well. So you want to just get off it and then press it again. You'll see this like orange. That's the one you want to be on. And just to place that, if you go onto the Z axis at the top, you can place it a little bit easier. And then S to size where you want, and then just continue it. And then and obviously you can change that size to obviously what you need it to. It needs to be bigger or smaller. I'm just going to just increase that size. And what we're going to try and do is match that secondary part to this primary bit. Because later on I'll show you a technique of how to join them. Just want to remesh. And then just go on top view. Do the same to that. Because what we're going to do is try and keep that here. And if you take a look at it, you've got that shape going on. And you just want to try and get that as close to that what you're looking at. So there you go. So you got that second bit. And then I'm going to do the tail as one. You can do this in separate parts, obviously. It's just the way I'm doing it now. Say you feel like you can do the tail in 3 parts and have it sway a bit more in the pose, but because my pose is quite angled in one direction, I'm not too fussed about having the tail in multiple parts. So if we go like this, and like I said, this is a just a nice little character design I've done a while ago. So it's going to be quite cartoony looking, not a realistic shark, but it still look cool. You'll see what I mean when I've actually got it down. Just put the tail in, smooth it off. Like I said, hold shift to smooth and just drag it across to smooth it. While you're doing the simple stage, it's not much of an issue if you didn't. Again, it's all what you need it to do. So if I zoom out, you can sort of see that shape coming together. Although I do realize now that that's very big, so let's change that size. So just gonna grab that and bring it to the size we want it to be at, which is there. So you're seeing that shape coming along. It might look a little bit sort of off at first, just because again we're using either our imagination or some a reference we're looking at, and if you're doing that, you're gonna obviously be a little bit out because you're not gonna have the exact sort of dimensions for it. But again, it's just a case, as usual, of grabbing it and keep modeling it to get that shape you want. And I'd say mine sort of comes around like that. Maybe a bit more in that. And like that. And then we'll go to the front and have a look at that. And I'm just going to pick up my reference, and I should have really got the camera out and shown you this, but it's not exactly necessary because it's just a tutorial, and like I said, it's just to get the overall feel of things. It's just not an exact thing. You can do it that way. Oh, and by the way, we're going to save that quick. We'll just call it shark. If you want to keep the smoothing quite so if you hold the shift and go down, it's going to go quite deep and it's going to change the shape or make it smaller. To stop that from happening, if you hold the shift down and click on your mouse and just press, it will smooth it off without changing the shape too much. And the more value, which remember, if we go down quick, this value where it's at 0.8, the lesser it is, the more polygons you're going to have. And if that's the case, the harder it's going to be to smooth out because it's going to have more polygons to smooth over. So you won't need to worry about that later. You can sort of go quite hard with the smoothing when the value goes lower. But as it stays high, the less you want to do, just because it's going to keep messing around. So right, we've got those two. Now on this original design, we've got our two fins to the side and a couple, say it's two at the front, two small ones at the back, and then two at the top. So we're going to do the ones on the side next. Again, this is mine, so if you want to change the design a little bit, I know this is kind of my design anyway, but if you want, I'm not going to be annoyed if you take my design and edit it and use it for your own sort of stuff. That's not my problem for this one in particular. It's a nice design, and if you want to use it for your own, do it. Just have a look. And we want to go to sculpt mode and then grab our tools. Oops. Again, if you notice that I've just done what I've done, for example, where you haven't, if you click the value and just go back and redo it, because you really want to try and keep it as uniform as possible. And remember to switch between Y and X values, dependent on where you need to use it. Because for here, we're using that X value to keep the fin the way it should be, but now I'm going to take that away. I'm just going to drop this down. If you want to keep it uniform, you've got to go from the top view because I'll show you. If you do it from this view, this is gonna go up and down, left to right in the actual space. But if you go to a top, oops, 1 second. If you go to a top, oh, it's my fault. I'm pressing the wrong buttons here. If you go to a top view, a side view or a front view, you can keep that all you in one nice place just to actually do it. And again, we've got a little bit of a point on this, so we're going to smooth it and bring it out. And I'd say that was the top view done. The side view, we're just going to bring that down and up like that. And then the front view, we just want to keep going back and forth to thin this off, and then also a bit of a smooth, and then thicken that bit off. So up and down just to make these bits thicker if it's off level. And what I would say about that is if we just squeeze it in a little bit, and we're going to put it about here. But in this, I've noticed now that this bit should be wider. So what we'll do is just increase the width on that one, and then go in sculpt mode, and just bring that out a bit more, and bring that in a bit more. And now we're going to crease that one again just a little bit. And we're just going to Control C, Control V, mirror X because it's on the X one. Remember what I said? The red is X. And then again, you're eyeballing it again because it's not exact. If you want to grab both of these and widen them, you can, but I wouldn't suggest doing it other than wide. And now that I've changed that value of that top bit, I think we should change the up as well. Sometimes you won't need to use the sculpting to change some sizes. Let's say you've got the shape you want, you can just press the S, like I said, to reshape it, or use these tools here to shape it in a direction uniform. So if you need to do anything sort of exact, use these. But if you need, say, one side to be thinner or smaller, that's when you'll use the sculpt tool. But for now, we've got that really well. And then we're going to do side ones here. So remember, deselect, bring it down, and then we'll use sculpt mode. Remember to keep changing the value for what you need. And we're just going to change that. And then it's got a slight up on it. Sorry, my mouse is a bit playing up today. So if you see me struggling to go in and out of sections, that's why. It's not that the mouse is bad, it's just that I feel like Blender itself is sometimes it gets a little bit laggy with stuff. So you've got 1, 2, and you want those to be just slightly further down than that. And then you just want to mirror it across. See how easy those ones are? And then you grab this top one. And then what we're going to do with this one is make the top fin and the back smaller fin on that. And we'll get that one out of the way. So again, we want to keep that one uniform, so we're going to thin it in like that. Try and level it up exactly to the middle. And then to get the shape of that, we're going to grab it, go to sculpt mode, press the X value because it's at the front, and we want to keep those fronts the same. And make that bigger. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so we can see whereabouts it's coming. And I've made quite the fin quite big on this original one, so we want to do that. I'm going to keep it the same. And we'll push it down a little bit more because it's more towards that tail end, sort of matching that. Remember, if you feel like it's going a bit everywhere, just remember to remesh, and then it will have a little bit more of a chance of moving a little bit better. And then we'll work with that later. So far we've got that, and we can kind of cheat in a way with this one, and Control CV it over because it's just a smaller version of that. So S to resize, and then we'll put it in here. We'll get that a bit smaller as well. And with, whoops, 1 second. When with that, we can actually move it to try to mirror those two. So far we've got that basic sort of shark shape. I mean, you could argue it looks a bit like a whale, but like I said, it's all a case of the uniqueness of this actual model itself. So that's your basic shape and all your places. And like I was saying on the previous tutorial, or if you haven't seen that one, you can go check it out because I make a Jake the dog. But this is the part I didn't really get to do with that one because it wasn't detailed enough to show. But in this one, it is. So we've got all these parts, and they're all a base shape. So this is just, if you imagine a drawing, when you draw in, you'll do a blocked sketch underneath, and that's nice and light to get your shape together. That's essentially what this is, but a little bit more advanced, just because this is where you can cut in or take away, or add, sorry. So after you've done that, it's a pretty hard thing to do because you need to really be sure that this is the way you want it to be, because once you start working on it, you can't really go back unless you duplicate it, but that's going to increase the workload. A, because if you do it wrong, you have to start again. But B, if you have these all duplicated to one side, it's going to make the computer run a bit slower because you've got more overall pieces and polygons in there. So if you could avoid doing that, that's great. But what we're going to do, I think that's pretty good. Sometimes you'll see in my videos that I will duplicate it over. And that's to, if I don't trust it, and I'm okay with doing that because I've gotten quite fast at doing it as well. So if I do make a mistake, I tend to notice early on, or I can just redo it again, and it helps. It's kind of good practice anyway. But if you've got a not very strong computer, you want to try and avoid doing as many copies and that over. So I'm going to have a look at it, and I'm thinking first things first. This top still needs a little bit of work, so I'm just going to increase little bits of it. Just the bits that need to be, in my opinion, smoothed over. And then with my reference here, I can see that I'm still going to bring that nose a bit more out. I want to bring that nose a bit more out, round it off here, and then also we kind of curve in for the stomach here. Yeah, and then just going to grab that there. We're also going to bring that bit out. So should have it's a very difficult one to do, to be fair. But if we get it right, it should look really cool at the end, right? So that should be about the right shape. So then always remember to Control S just to save. Blender will automatically save 2 files anyway. I can't say I'm really a fan I'd prefer to save to myself, but you can be safe in the knowledge that it will help out. Um, but again, it's all depending on how you feel. You can save another one out if you want, but just remember to save because yep, just like any other software, Blender's partial to crashing, especially when you start getting higher stuff in. All right, so that's part one. I'm just going to do this a whole video. I don't really mind splitting it out, so hopefully you'll stick with me. So yeah, so you've got your base one there, and then you pick from this point on, you go, okay, I've ticked it off. I think everything's correct. So it's part two, and part two is like a more advanced detail. So you're getting as close to the final details you need, um, but not. Let's say something's not smooth, you don't have to worry about it too much. So what we're going to start with, because everything else here is quite a case of adding slight little bits. So we're going to just do the face really. So what you do, so we'll go back off it just in case you're not on it. Select your top section, go to sculpt mode, and this is where we can get a little bit more in depth with these. Now I'm on my particular model here, I've got a little bit of an in depth where the eye goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that tool here and press the minus, keep it at it what it is, and just create a little bit of space so that later on we can put the eyes. And then remember to remesh. Now with the remesh, we're going to drop this because we're starting to get more detail. So we're going to drop it to at least a 50. Again, I'm using a tablet with this, so. And then just smooth these areas out so it goes into the actual design. And then if you keep smoothing, you can get it nice and curved in so it's not too harsh. And that's what happens there. And then we can get this little deform tool and we can just move it up just a little bit. Because I feel like that probably goes in a little bit more there. And then we've got the nose section here. So that nose section, again, similar to that, we've got it quite small. And this one's going to go quite far. So we're going to go to the front. Oh, remember to, if you're doing, say, eyes, even mouth, to have this side, obviously, so it's X on this one because it's the red. Obviously, that keeps everything uniform, like I was saying before. And it just stops any issues because you don't really want to be doing a one side and two side anyway. And then we're just going to move this one back a little bit forward to get a little bit of that extra shape and then smooth it around so it's not as deep. And you've got the little nose for it. And then, like I was saying before, you might notice, like I've noticed here, that this face section should be a little bit further down and round. So all you do is constantly edit things as you're going along. And then you control save. So I'm confident enough that I can probably get this first time. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But again, that's a price I'm willing to pay. But like I said, if you want to do, I'd suggest you would duplicate yours over for this one because it's not so heavy. And if you're practicing and it's the first time you're doing it, it's not going to be the best thing to do if you was to sort of leave it. Because you'll probably make a few mistakes, and some mistakes you might not be able to go back on, and in which case you go back on the video and start from where you left. But we're going to go forward on this one. And in this particular model we've got, it's got a mouth that runs to the side and up, so we've got quite a big cut in. So what we can do, keep the same section, make it thinner. I'd say that was about the right size. And then we're just going to cut it in and around. And remember to use your front and your side. Now, I think that's a bit too big actually, so we'll take it to about, we'll say 17. To the side. And it goes down. So that's all you want to do is just want to make sure when you're doing those cut-ins that you're doing that. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfectly neat. I'm just going to smooth a little bit of that off, remesh it. And then what we're going to do as well is we're going to take that back to a 17. And then I feel like this is going to be quite detailed. So we're going to take this back to I'd say a 20. Anything under 20 is when you start getting into real details when you're doing faces and stuff. And then you just want to be grabbing that. And just grabbing it, cutting it down, remeshing it, and smoothing it off. And as I'm looking at this, I'm going, okay, it's nice and smooth, cut in, but what we've got, so all you want to be doing, if you see these little sections where they seem a little bit not in as much, just grab your tool, just let go over it, keep cutting in, and keep getting rid of it. Now, what I was going to say here is that front bit probably needs to come out more, so now we're going to put an add-on, take it over, and just add some section here. 1 second. Go back on that. We'll make it a little bit bigger. Let me just want to add some here and then smooth it. Just want to try and make that come into this section as much as possible and then smooth to neaten it off. And then we're going to use that deform tool to bring that out and around. Try and get that there. And we're also going to bring that nose in. There are a few ways to do this, to be honest, because you can boolean, which is something I'll go through on another video. And just keep moving it along. At this point, it'll be you looking at what you've done. And just keep going around it. And now I'm still thinking there should be more out of that. And then we're going to shorten that. I'm just going to make sure that section's still at that. Kind of a grumpy-ish sort of look. To get this quite uniform, what you can do is if you smooth that off, get that to say a 20, just above the one we had before, and just take this value up higher and just do it once. Oops. Put that back to about a 3, and then we'll go, just make sure you're on the correct tool. So you want minus 20, and then you want there, and then you just hold it down once, and hold it down once. That way it'll be a lot smoother on the cutting. And then remember to remesh. And sometimes you'll notice that your other ones will come out, so you just want to quickly add some of that together. And then just keep looking and go, okay, what does this need? Again, it's not an easy process. You're going constantly going over and in, and then you've got there a nice little cut in there. Now, just to get the size correct, we're going to move it forward, and I think the shape's correct, but I think we should probably go back a bit. So just grab it, and then just keep doing that. And I'd say that was a bit further down as well. Like I said, when it comes to these particular way of doing things, you're gonna have to keep coming in and out because you're not gonna get that perfect the first time. If you did though, it's a good job. But like I said, if you everyone's human, so you're gonna have a lot of mistakes. And then we're just looking at this from the top down, and we're trying to get as accurate as we can to this sort of model. And then we'll go to the side because we moved that wider now. And if we do that wider, we're going to have to increase the size here and here. What we can do as well, now that this is correct, let's just go. Remember what I said about if you've got it correct, you can just resize it. I'm just going to bring him in so he's like that. Maybe a little bit wider then. Now I'm thinking that actually was better the other way around. So this, pull him out and actually increase the size of these. Do you see what I was? So this is what I was saying, where you will constantly be resizing and moving things over. Just sort of part of the process of going up and down, making sure things are the correct size, constantly changing things. Try and do that with my mouse again, but my mouse is playing a bit. So we'll just use the tablet. And then all you want to do with that is you do sculpt mode again. We're just going to bring that eye section a bit round. And then just smooth it off a little bit. And then remesh. And once you get the remesh there, you're going to notice that it's going to start taking a bit slower, but that's fine. Oops. And then we're just going to keep moving this. So it's got that shape that we want. And that should be the correct one. And again, all you want to do now is constantly keep going around and editing. Just want to increase that one for there. There you go. That's about right. So we've got that. Just going to smooth some more edges off. Now, to finish off this, well, not to finish it off, but to clean it up a little bit, what we're going to do is get the crease tool and just have that quite low valued and just go around this edge to make it a little bit tougher and separate it off. Again, it just cleans it up. Just be careful with how much you're doing. Cool. So you've done that mouth. And then we'll get some eyes in. So all we're doing with the eyes now, okay, what we'll do first is we'll get to the part now where we change a bit of color, because now that can really help, like I've said in previous videos, it can really help see where you're making mistakes. And on my one, we want him to be around this sort of mouth section. Um, we'll do the easy bits first. So these two are going to be great. The default color is a white. It does look grey, but it is definitely a white. When you start painting these, you'll actually notice a little bit more that it is a white. As you're doing it though, you'll probably think it's a grey. And then we're just going to come in so it's all the way around like that, so at an angle. And then with these top sections, all we want here is to go on top. So make sure you've not got the let's have a look. So strange one. You just want oops. You just want the top section of this, not the bottom. So just leave that slightly thingy. Don't have to be perfect. Each one's going to be different. If you have a little bit going over it, just makes it a little bit more unique. And like I said, if you're printing this off, you're going to be painting it again anyway with proper paint. So all you just want to be doing is you can do this before anyway, if you want. I'm just doing it now because I'm thinking that we can get a little bit of an idea of if we're doing things correctly. And we'll just do a bit more around here. And that should go into that section. So there you go, you get the front bit and that bit. So the reason I've done that is just because on this next one, we're going to get some eyes together, and same as before, Control Z, Control V, but keep these as spheres. Place them where the eye socket we did was. Grab it, shrink it to about the correct size, which I'm saying is going to be about here. Sculpt mode. Turn that nice and dark black. Have the whole thing done like that. And then what we're going to do with this is not going to be perfectly round. It's quite a bit different. So we're just going to make it a little bit thingy here. And then bring it around so it fits within that sort of eye socket shape. Again, it's just going to take a little bit of time. The more you do this, the more you get used to it, the faster it'll be. You just want to try and get it so it goes around into that socket section. Again, it doesn't have to be perfectly spherical because that's the point. And I'm also going to say, I'm going to shrink that just a little bit. And then we're going to duplicate it over, mirror it, and like I said, eyeballing it, trying to make sure you've got that same look on it. And then at the moment, it just goes in like that. But on the actual model we've got, what we can do is actually grab this eye, Control C and Control V. If you want to do eyelids um, in a stylized way, it's always best to duplicate the eye so you've got that already perfect shape. And then just, and remember what we were saying last time, if you want to get the color, you want to get flat. You take away any values. And then we can go back to, we'll go with matte actually for now. Looks a bit droopy eyed. So then you go to your move tool and you're just going to grab and move this into what you believe the eye shape should be. And if you're following exactly along this tutorial, it should be like east over. So you just want to keep doing that, up, up. Remember, remesh, smooth. And then we'll go on the top view. It should be like an eyelid. And it should give him like almost a grumpiest kind of look. So make sure it sticks out and around and up like that. And that way he's got kind of a mean look to him, but he still kind of looks quite, quite sweet because he's not meant to be aggressive looking. He's meant to be quite what's it, shark and cartoon shark. So if you want to just do Control C, Control V, and then mirror it on X, you can get a bottom. Mirror it on X, sorry, mirror it on Z. You can get a bottom one if you wanted to add a bottom one. We're just going to add a small bottom one. Bottom lid will always be smaller and slimmer. So you just want to go in there, give him a second little bit of eyelid. And remember, same with anyone, just remesh, smooth. And then we're going to grab those two, Control C, Control V, mirror X. For any one of those who just like watching tutorials and don't really see themselves doing this, I will put this on the website for you to buy if you want to print it off or just to keep. And like I said before, Promethean Bryce, buy me a coffee if you want to just support me. Now I'm going to say these eyes are still a little bit too big, so I'm going to grab them all and then just S that value a bit. And look, if you now notice, you can actually, if we Control Z that, we can actually move that out a little bit. And you can really, with that colour and those eyes, start to tell where things should be. And we're going to increase that nose and mouth section because the mouth section is quite wide actually, so we want it quite out. And then the top bit should be quite thin. So you want, if we go on the bottom view, that bit should be out like that. And that bit should be out like this. And then if we get the Y bit, we can also do that bit here. And we're just going to quickly look at the model reference and we're looking at it and we're going, that should still be out. That, however, should be up. And then we're going to thin that second bit out. And that looks more like the reference. Trouble is, when you move the front and side, you're going to notice that the other bits go. So you've just got to keep going back in. Trying your best to get that shape. You want his head to be quite like harsh there. And that should be halfway between the eyes. Again, forgive me if this doesn't look a bit like a shark. It's just meant to be a bit of a cartoon version. There you go. So that's that done. And then all you're doing with the rest is trying to get those sort of angles right. So remember what I said last time. If you haven't seen the previous video, obviously I'll go through it again. Always duplicate the sides over as you're going along, just so you get that look and shape correct. But as you edit something, say I'm editing this now, all you want to do is do one of them. Don't worry about the second one. And when you've done that one again, you duplicate it over again. So we've got the harshness here of that. And we're going to just bring that out. And then we've done that one, so we'll delete that one. And then we'll Control C, Control V, X, and then eyeball it over. Something I will say, when I was looking at the other one, I think that's a bit off. So if we just grab these two, because I use a laptop, you see, and the buttons are a bit different to what I used to. So if I do press the Windows button, apologies. So there you go, those two arm sections. And what I'll do with both of them actually is on the original reference and design, they do turn just a little bit and are right at the edge of that. And then with this thin, that's a little bit different. Remember to save as you're going along. You want that harsh. Then it always comes out a little bit as well. So you want to just do that. Remember at this point, you really want to be remeshing. When the mesh changes quite significantly, that's when you definitely want to be remeshing. And smooth to get that nice and neat. And I'm looking at the reference and I'm thinking we should probably knock him down a little bit that way and lean that a little bit. Make it a little bit bigger. And then this one also a little bit bigger and a little bit closer. But that one's absolutely fine. That body's fine. One thing we have forgotten here, actually, if we go back to here, sculpt mode, have it down, and then we'll use the cut in. We'll use this one just because it's a bit more harsh. And then I've done, see, obviously there's going to be more gills, but again, it's stylized, and we've got one here, one slightly smaller one, and one smaller one in there. And all we've got to do then, I'm just going to quickly check the time on this. Forgive me if you can see the sculpt one. So it's an hour long. I'm trying to keep them quite short. It's going to take you more than an hour for even the smallest things. And obviously, I don't want people to rush. I'm just trying to keep it enough so it's not too much of a hassle for people. Something they can do in their spare time between work. And then we're just going to change this. And if you're at school, bring it down. And I've had that one crease a little bit more, and that one crease a little bit more. And then we have that one slightly larger than that one. And this will also be a little bit thicker at this base than it is that is otherwise. So just do that. And then we're going to add a little bit to the tail. So what we're going to do is cut in just a little bit at the top here. And cut in a little bit down. Again, we've changed the mesh enough, so we'll remesh. Smooth that off, and then we'll get this tool here. Instead of adding, sometimes you can just pull things away and resort it. Sometimes it's a little bit easier and a little bit better to do that anyway. So you just want to do that for that fin sort of there. And have that come sort of around and in. And then with this one, pull it back. But we do also want a tiny, tiny bit. We'll drag that down as well. Here and here. Just to get a little bit of shape in. And then we'll remesh that just to make sure. And then with these sharks, they'll have a little bit coming out extra here. So you want to get a bit big and then just do that to match it with that side section. And then otherwise, you're pretty much good to go on the rest. Just thinning it off a little bit. So pretty much that's what you have. Now, I still think his eyes are a little bit too big. So we're going to delete this second eye. Go back to the first one. Just because if I was to resize both of these, it's going to resize from the middle point. So if I made it any smaller, it's going to go too much out. So all you want to do is grab that, Control C, Control V, and then just do the same thing you did with the eye originally, but stick it out a little bit more. That's better. And then all you want to do, get your top value, and just, oops, 1 second, make sure you're on the correct bit, and just pull those eyes out a little bit more there. And to be honest, just want to keep that sort of shape, but bring it all in just a little bit. So it's a little bit more thin on the face there. Again, you can make yours look a bit more like a traditional shark. It's meant to be like a cartoony great white. So that's the actual shark that bit done. But if you want to add a little bit of extra detail, just quickly notice that that's now a little bit too low down. You want to just grab that in. And just bring this one up. Just because it looks a bit cooler that way. So you got one of these cool little sharks. And if you just wanted to neaten him off, that's what you can do. You can improve him a little bit more. But I'd say if you want to put some teeth in, you either want to use this crease tool or this draw sharp tool and get it in really low, very low value. And from the top, just do this. Just to make it look a bit like teeth, so do like a zigzag pattern. Again, remember to be on the correct section. You don't really need to worry about these being too smooth. It's going to take it away otherwise. So get all the way across. Say 2 or 3 times, scrubbing in and out. And then he's got some mean little teeth. And then just with this nose section, we'll add one little last bit out. Like I said, I don't want to keep this quite small. I mean, it's not the best sculpt of all time, but like I said, it's based on a little design I did for a previous project. Because I used to do clay work and I wanted to do like cool little characters for kids. And he was just one of them. He seemed to sell fairly well because people seem to really like him. So I thought I'd make him digital. But making sort of silly things a bit digital was quite hard to do, to be honest. But there you go. So that's your overall shark. Again, like I said, if you want to add more, um, add more. If you want to make more detail, make more detail. It's up to you. Like I said, I want this to be quite a small video, and it's more a tutorial of how to get used to the tools because you're just going over and over and practicing. When it gets you used to all these side things, you can experiment a bit more with some more tools if you want. Some textures, some details. Gets you a bit of practice with some paint. So it's just a nice character to get like a feel for using Blender. Again, all these techniques can be used in other software, but just Blender is what I've been using, so that's what I'm going to be showing with. And also Blender's free, so you don't have to worry about that. So if you want to get rid of that last one there, and then like I said, what I'm going to do, this time I will duplicate it. So I'm going to put them all to one side, and that's what I like to call the animation version, the stocked pose one. And then what we're going to do is duplicate him, because what we're going to do is we are going to join these together. Now, like on the previous one, you want to press Control Select on all of them. And then you want, in fact, you can actually leave the eyes if you want, say, them to rotate. Now, I don't think this will exactly rotate, but it's good practice. You just always make sure you've got them selected. So you've got them selected. Join them. And then remesh them. So go to sculpt mode. Remesh. And remesh them to a point lower than your original one. So we're going to say 14 on this one. And then we'll just take a second or two to load up. And then you just press save just to make sure you actually got that set up. And then just smooth off all the rest of the edges that I've just joined. Try to avoid smoothing anything you've worked on too much. If you actually feel like it's going a bit too much, you can actually up the value. Because like I said, the more mesh there is, the better a chance you have of doing stuff. It's just keeping those details. So you just got to find a nice balance. And you see how that's merging in all together now? That's what you just want to do. Want to make sure it's all merged in nice and neat, and it's all one mesh. And keep doing it until these creases aren't as creasy, if that makes sense. And if you find things aren't matching up a little bit, you can always use your move tool to resize something. And then there you go, you're all in one piece. And again, if you wanted to make sure this all lines up as well, that's an added extra. We've done a nice layer on that one, so that's it. What we like I said, what we call the animation version, the posed version, the traditional pose. And then with this one, what we're going to do is on my original sculpt, I'm going to keep 3 of these actually, just in case I want to change it later. So you've got the unmerged, merged, and the posed. But what you do is you grab these, and then this is what I was saying before, where you can just so instead of doing it in a pose, you can now move these part by part, and then sort of have them just all slightly off and different, and make it actually look like he's swimming. Apologies for that, I pressed the wrong button. Just sort of make it look like he's swimming a bit. Yeah, so again, it's not much of a difference, but it helps doing that. And if you want to do this as well, there'll be a little bit more of a bend there. So all you want to do is just move that so it looks like that. And object merge, you can do that with the section here as well. And that way, it just looks like he's swimming a bit. And that's how I sold the original ones. So it sort of looked like a bit of a mid-swim. So again, we'll save that, and then we'll just grab all that. Deselect the eyes. Again, just for good practice. Make sure you've got all of them selected. Control Z. Grab the main one. Press right click, join, or Control J. Go to your settings after going to sculpt mode. And we're going to make it a little bit less on this one because I felt like it didn't need it. So we'll say 45 and remesh. And then, unlike the other one, you're going to have to smooth this one side at a time, just because it will come back a little bit different. And all you're doing is just making sure it's all one cool uniform mesh that looks like it's been done as one piece. Same goes for the eyes. So you go over, over, and then under the eyes here. It just looks a lot neater and a lot better. But that's basically it. I mean, if you have a look at that, that's the little shark. It's cool to do. Again, just like the other ones, if you want to see what this looks like without any of the things, you press this one here. And it's called Show Overlays. And if you press that off, you get an overall sort of look of what it looks like. and I've just noticed I haven't done one part, so we go back into it again. If you notice that yourself, you go into it, you edit it, and we can leave a little bit of a crease in there because he's actually turning. So you go back off. You can edit in this version, but obviously you won't see the sections. So if you do that as well, you can actually get a few little movements of the body to make it just a little bit more sort of round one way. That's that. That's it. So that's just how you make a cool little cartoon shark. Like I said, it's more of a tutorial for getting used to the little bits of Blender. And this is one, like I said, where you're doing it either from your imagination or from a reference that you've got on the outside, not on the inside. So it's a little bit more harder work, takes a little bit more time, but it helps a lot because if sometimes you won't have reference, or sometimes you'll say want a pot of clothing or something that's not on the actual reference and you've got to use your imagination a bit. So if you just mess around, say doing small characters and stuff, or just little bits, like I don't know, if you've got a printer, get your modeling tools and just model a printer, and it just gets you a bit of practice, and it helps you. Doing this as well helps you get into the 3D space and understand it a bit more. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's the second in the series. If you want to go watch how to do this with the reference in the background, I would suggest go. I'll link to the next one on the little closing video thing. If you want to support me, it'd be nice if you go to buy me a coffee. I'll put this model on there as well as all the other ones. You can either buy them separately to support me, just drop me a bit of money to support me for buying me a coffee, or you can actually get a membership for £7 a month, and that will include every single file that I've ever done and every file going forward. Like I said, it's quite cheap, and you're helping me do this and help other people. And you're also getting some pretty awesome stuff when I get my original videos out, so look out for them. Hope you can like, share, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. And I guess I'll see you in the next either tutorial video, which will be coming. Like I said, I want to get a sort of human reference, face, body, hands, feet, even some clothes. But otherwise, it'll be just me and my videos where they're like time lapses, where I give a short commentary over the top of it. But like I said, check them out. And I hope for the channel to grow and do this some more. Thanks for again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.